All right, well, after using the rust removing gel on this, cleaning it up just with hot soapy water, letting it dry, I did give it a coat of some WD-40 to sit overnight so it doesn't just flash rust. Got that wiped off, and for a few spots, where is it now? So it's it's still noticeable, but there was some pretty noticeable heavy pitting there. So I hit that with a metal file and just very light, and keep turning the barrel so you don't end up with a flat spot. So always keep that barrel moving. And then I started off at 100 grit, 120, 200, what the heck was it? 320, I think, 400, and now I'm into the 6 and 800. If you see the high shine here, I threw some buffing wheels onto my bench grinder. I don't have a variable speed polisher, which I would like to have, but I'll show you in another video. I took a power bar, a dimmer switch, wired them together, and I've got a multi-plug speed controller. I'll show you how I did that. But yeah, just started polishing here. You can see we've got some pretty good shine to it, but this part has only gone as high as 400 grit. So I decided to stop the polishing. It is pretty good, but it's not as good as I think I could make it with just a little bit more effort. So I'm going to use some 600 and some 800, get it as shiny as I can, and then we're going to use the different polishing rouges. Black is the heaviest cut. Then you go to white, and this is more for cutting than for the actual polishing. So it'll remove some material, so you're just going to be touching that on there. Once that's polished up, you try to get as much off as you can of the old rouge, and then I'll be going white, then red. But I'm going to go between the two wheels, the hardest wheel that I've got and the medium wheel. I'm not going to bother with the super light wheel. I might give that a try depending on the results once I get down to the 800 grit. We'll see. But yeah, I'm just going to keep sanding. I don't think anybody cares about seeing sanding. At least I'm back at my workbench a bit. But I'm gonna keep sanding, and then I'm gonna show you with the bench grinder. I would love to have a proper variable speed polisher. It's got a longer shaft, you can get in closer as opposed to having to go at an angle here, but you know what, it gets the job done. The whole kit with the three wheels and the 4 bricks of rouge, it was 25 bucks. So hard to go wrong when you've already got an old bench grinder kicking around, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do. I'm not even going to mount it for this one. My rubber mat's good enough. But yeah, we'll do a bit of sanding and then we'll come back. Okay, so I was trying to use the black on the coarser, the stiffer wheel, and the white on the finer one. I'm going to have to go black, white, and then maybe black, white, red, and then red on here. So that's doing a much better job, definitely. Yeah, look at that. That's looking really nice. Okay, so I think I'm done with the black for now. Now, look at that in comparison to how it used to be. I've barely used any off my buffing wheels. I've used maybe $5 of sandpaper, $1 worth of the rust remover, you know, $1 here, $1 there, not much. But now I'm going to use the white rouge on the lighter wheel and see if I can bring that up a little bit more before I go with the final red rouge on both. All right, you know what this looks like? It's just a bag of flour. I have a mess to clean up, so I'm going to grab another boot tray. And this will just polish all the leftover residue of the rouge off without scratching. My first job out of high school was polishing rims and tanks of semi-trucks. My first job out of high school, which motivated me to go back to school pretty damn quick. Hey, I am ready to start prepping for the bluing. First, I take these cotton pads. It's like the makeup removing pads you can find at the drugstore. Get them in big packs. And you want to degrease this, get any bits of that rouge off. So, the cleaner it is, the better a bluing job you're going to get. And what the hell is the point in going to all this trouble and then skip out on one of the prep steps? Preparation is usually, like, you look at body work. I've been doing body work since I was a kid. I'm not going to say it's the best body work in the world, but it looks decent. It's all steel, and I started just by hammering out panels on my garage floor with a ball peen hammer. That's about all I had, and I could make some fairly decent stuff. But when you go to weld that panel in, when you go to paint it, it all comes down to the prep. You can do a great paint job with great quality paint, and it can come out looking absolutely terrible if you don't prep it first. But it's steps like that that make the difference between a homemade looking job and a good quality job. Now, I'm not going to worry as much in this area because that is covered by the forestock for most of its life. Wow, it's glad to buy these in big packs. Okay, I steal them from my girlfriend, but still, I'm glad she buys them in big packs. Even in here you want to get, because you do want to get bluing in there. And I've probably said it before, but one reason to stick with cold bluing as opposed to the hot oil bluing or the hot caustic bluing is, let's face it guys, let's be honest here, as home hobby guys, we like to think we know everything, but we don't always. Nowadays we can look it up, but when you get right down to it, do you want to take heat to something that is heat treated? Is it tempered? Is it annealed? Do you know as much about this gun as you think you do? And if the answer is yes, well then go ahead and heat it up. If you know that that's not going to make any difference, then, you know, who am I to stop you? But I do know where my knowledge lacks. And part of that is going to be on the metallurgy. I know enough to know I can get myself in trouble. So taking a torch to something to hot oil blue it. Now, if it's one of these parts, well, that's a bit different. Because you're not going to make such a huge difference on a hammer. If the hammer was tempered and now it's lost some of its temper, is that the end of the world? Does it really matter? Not really, because if your hammer did ever break, well, it's probably not a life or death situation. If you're using 100, the patent date on this is 1900, so you're using a 123-year-old shotgun at this point. You may want to rethink things. So I'm using Birchwood's Super Blue. The reason I started using this one is that is what the gun store by me sold. I have bought multiple bottles of it since because it does what it says it's supposed to do. Now, I apply with the foam brush. If you've watched any of my videos, dollar store. Get big bags of them for $1 or $2. You get the same thing at the hardware store, and it's going to cost you significantly more. But before this thing has a chance to flash rust, I want to get at least my first coating of bluing on there. I'll probably do a couple of coats. Never dip into your container. Last thing you want to do is contaminate this stuff. It's not that it's super expensive, but why the hell wreck what you're paying money for? And with this, I go long strokes. Holy moly, look how black that is turning quickly. All right, that was one ongoing consistent coat until I used a little more, maybe 3/8 of an inch. So about 10 millimeters in the bottom of that cup. I'd say maybe a ½ ounce from the feel of it. I'm gonna let this sit for a few minutes. I'm trying a few different things. If you watch my other videos, I've tried doing multiple coats, washing it, multiple coats, but wiping it down with brake clean between. And now I'm trying just one heavy coat over and over and over and over, letting it sit. And then I'm going to go wash it in the tub. And I need to get a parts washer out here. But as long as I clean up the tub, girlfriend doesn't complain too much. But we'll get this, let this sit for a bit, and we'll come back once I've washed it up. Just going to use hot soapy water in the tub, that's it. And we'll see how the finish is. See you in a bit. I've washed the barrel down, just hot soapy water, and then hung it to dry in front of my heater for a few minutes. Now I'm just giving it a rub down with WD-40. And if you ask why WD-40 and not gun oil, it's just WD-40 is water displacer. That's what it's for. A lot of people use it as a penetrating oil, and it really doesn't work that great as a penetrating oil, in my experience at least. But right into all the little nooks and crannies, into the barrel, into where the ejector sits. Spraying a few places that are, so you want to get down into there. Anywhere there could be water trapped, why not? And I spray some in the barrel, plug the end with my hand, and then I'll slosh it back and forth a few times, different directions, and try to get the whole barrel coated and letting it drain out. Next is the receiver. So I sanded it. I've already sanded this, coated it in the rust remover, and then sort of lightly polished it up with some sandpaper. Considering how the barrel looks, I could get this perfect, but the barrel's not perfect. So I think I'm going to maybe hit it with some 4, 6, and 800, and then it's going to hit the buffing wheel. There's no point, even though this could turn out better than the barrel, I don't see any point in making one part of the gun better quality finish than the other. I'd rather have it consistent. And on the Excelsior shotgun I've got, that's very, very similar to this. And that's maybe a Stevens or an Ivor Johnson. They used that name on so many things back then. There's several different Excelsior shotguns out there. But it's another single barrel, very, very similar to this one. And the barrel's so nice on that one, I'm considering nickel plating it. And it'll just be a matter of getting a tank big enough for doing that, and then I can make the chemicals needed. I forget off the top of my head, but all sorts of neat things you can do with these projects. There are some marks in the receiver on that Excelsior, so I would not do the receiver. I would only chrome the barrel. And if that would look good or not, I have to wait and see, I guess. It's not perfect, but for what I'm looking for, it is more than good enough. Like and subscribe and watch part 3 of this video. More to come.